Hey, what's going on, everybody? Samuel Akem here, and I'm back with another one. Today, we are talking about the top teams from each FCS conference and if I think they will repeat as champions or if they will be dethroned by another team in their conference. So we're going to get straight into it. Thank you guys for tapping into the video. Please hit the subscribe button. Please hit the like button. Leave a comment down below, and we'll get straight into it. First team first, we have the Big Sky Conference. We have the Montana Grizzlies, who are the champions of that conference. I know you guys might think I'm a little biased. I probably am a little biased. Those are my guys. But we got the Montana Grizzlies. The next best team in the conference was Idaho at 9-4. They were 6-2 in conference. Also tied with them was Montana State at 6-2 in the conference. I think they were 8-5 was their overall record. But I think Montana will repeat as champions. I think that they returned most of their weapons offensively. Now, I know you might say Clifton McDowell is gone. That's going to be a big hole that they're looking to fill. They lost a few pieces on the offensive line. They lost some big pieces on defense. But when looking at the rest of the conference, I feel pretty strong about Montana and saying Montana can repeat, as well as the return of Cole Grossman. They had a bunch of young guys offensively and defensively that played last year that should benefit from some development from last season that I think will help them. Obviously, like I said, the question marks are the quarterback position and the offensive line for me. I think they'll be good on the defensive end. I think Montana's always pretty strong on the defensive end, and I think they have strong pieces returning defensively. Offensively is going to be the question mark for them. The dark horse, which I have said over and over again. Well, actually, I haven't said it over and over again. I've actually only said it once. I think the dark horse for the Big Sky in 2024 is going to be Northern Arizona. You guys tell me what you think about that below. We will move on to the next team, to the next conference. Next, we have the Missouri Valley Conference with South Dakota State as the champion. They were 15-0, 8-0 in conference. The next best team in their conference was South Dakota at 10-3 with a 7-1 conference record. Now, obviously, a lot of people might think of North Dakota State. They went further in the playoffs than South Dakota, but I'm just going off conference records and who I think will return and won't return. I do not think South Dakota State will repeat as champions of the Missouri Valley. I think, obviously, it seems that they're going to be returning Mark Gronowski. He's a great quarterback, best quarterback in the FCS. Obviously, he's a back-to-back national champion, but I think he's losing a lot of weapons that I think he's going to feel the pain of that. Like, the Yankee brothers have been there for a long time. Isaiah Davis has been there for a long time. He had a great offensive line, the best offensive line in the FCS. Now, you might say they might have some young talent that they've been building up. You know, they're a great program. They've been working their way up to be a great program for a long time. So I think they have a lot of pieces, but I think they're losing too much to be able to go back to back with the way the Mvfc, the Missouri Valley Conference is. I'm going to pick North Dakota State. I think North Dakota State's going to have a great year. I think they can win the Missouri Valley in 2024. I am going to pick them to win the Missouri Valley in 2024. I think they will dethrone South Dakota State. Now, that's not to say South Dakota State won't be good in 2024. I'm not saying that. I think South Dakota State will still be a very good team. They've won back-to-back national championships. You don't do that like just on a whim. But, you know, I think North Dakota State will be the team to beat in the Missouri Valley. So that's who I'm sticking with for the Missouri Valley. You guys let me know below what you think about that. We will move on to the next conference. Okay, so next we have the CAA, Coastal Atlantic Association, I think is what it's called. But we have the CAA, the three winners who shared the title were Albany, University of Albany, Villanova, and Richmond. I am going to say Villanova will repeat as conference champions. The one thing about this conference is losing a lot of good players this year. You have Max Brosmer, who transferred. You have Brevin Easton, who's going to the NFL. You have Reese Poffenberger, who transferred. And then you have Dylan Lobby, who's going to the NFL. So just a bunch of great players from different schools, two schools up there in the CAA that are leaving. Obviously, New Hampshire wasn't the champions in the CAA conference, but they were still a very talented squad. But back to Villanova. I'm picking Villanova. Villanova is returning their all-conference quarterback who should have a good year. He had a pretty good year last year. I expect him to improve on that. They had a really good linebacker in Shane Hartzell, who was their tackle leader and also an honorable mention all-conference player. I think he'll have a great year in 2024. These are some of the reasons why I'm picking Villanova to win the CAA in 2024. My dark horse to win the CAA in 2024 would have to be Richmond. You guys can let me know what you think about that in the comments below. But next, we have the Big South and OVC with Gardner-Webb and UT Martin, who shared that title in that conference. I think Gardner-Webb will repeat as the champions. I think Gardner-Webb has a tougher conference schedule in 2023 than they did in 2024, but I also think UT Martin is bringing in about 20 new transfers, which I feel like is a lot of new transfers, new transfer players in 2024. I think they're playing 2 more conference games this year than they did last year. So I think a tougher conference schedule might give everybody more problems. The teams might beat up on each other. They'll have a year of knowing each other, and I think the teams might beat up on each other a little bit coming into 2024. So UT Martin is losing their all-conference running back, which is definitely going to hurt them, which is why I don't think they will repeat. They're losing a lot of good players offensively and defensively. You look at some of the all-conference guys that they're losing, some of the graduate players that they're losing on the UT Martin side of things. I think that will hurt them. But you look at the rest of the conference in the OVC, the Big South OVC conference, it doesn't look super strong. There's a few teams in that conference like Eastern Illinois, who is my dark horse to potentially win that conference if it's not Gardner-Webb. But I'm going to say Gardner-Webb is going to repeat as conference champions. UT Martin will not. You guys let me know below what you think about that. We'll move on to the next conference. Okay, next we have the Ivy League, which was won by Yale. They had a record of 7-3 in 2023 with a 5-2 conference record. They were tied with Harvard, who had an 8-2 overall record, but a 5-2 conference record as well. I do not think Yale will repeat as champions. They're losing a lot of good players. They're losing 2 O-linemen to the NFL, as well as their 3-year starting QB, who was a 2-time Ivy League Offensive Player of the Year. I think that'll hurt. That's a lot to lose and still repeat as champions. Also, they're losing a lot of players due to grad transfer. I'm pretty sure the Ivy League does a weird rule where like they don't do 5th years, like it's 4 years and you're done. So a lot of older players that they're losing on their squad. Obviously, they probably have a bunch of players building up into the program, but I don't know how they'll be able to do, having been pretty decently good within the Ivy League conference the last couple years and losing some of those good players. I think it'll be hard for them to re-up. My dark horse to win that conference is going to be Harvard. I'm going to say Harvard's going to win it over Yale or anybody else in the Ivy League, maybe a Dartmouth. But yes, Yale, not going to repeat. Harvard, dark horse. You guys let me know below what you think about that. We'll move on to the next conference. So next, we are looking at the MEAC, which was won by Howard. Their regular season, their overall record was 6-6 in 2023, but they were 4-1 in the MEAC. The next best team in that conference was North Carolina Central, who had a 9-3 record, but a 4-1 overall record in conference. I do not think Howard will repeat. They are losing a lot of good players. They're returning a lot of good players, but they're also losing a lot of good players. They're losing their all-conference quarterback. They're losing an all-conference lineman in Eamon Donkwa. They are returning their all-conference running back, Eden James. North Carolina Central was right there with them last year. They will be the team to beat in the MEAC. In my opinion, I'm not even calling them a dark horse. I'm going to choose North Carolina Central to win the MEAC next year. But yeah, Howard, they're taking some tough losses, some really good all-conference players, a really good all-conference quarterback. I know it's tough to bounce back. Schools are always looking for a good quarterback. When you lose one, it's hard to bounce back from that. I don't know how Howard will do next year. I hope they are able to retool up and find another quarterback that's going to lead them. But right now, where it stands, especially given off their 6-6 overall record in 2023, wasn't a very strong record. Who knows how they do in 2024? I'm going to say North Carolina Central is going to get it in the MEAC in 2024, but we will see. Either way, Howard will not repeat. Tell me how you guys think about that in the comments below. We will move on to the next conference. Next, we have the Northeast Conference, or the NEC Conference. We have Duquesne, who was 7-5 in 2023 with a 6-1 conference record. The next best school in that conference was the St. Francis with a 4-6 overall record with a 4-3 conference record. So the NEC kind of beat up on each other in 2023. Duquesne was able to slip out, only getting one win. I'm going to say Duquesne is going to repeat. I think that conference is fairly weak. I think it's probably the weakest conference in the FCS, just looking at some of the competition and how everybody fared within that conference. I think Duquesne is going to repeat. They play in a weaker conference, like I just said, that beat up on each other. They're returning a Walter Payton Award finalist QB and Darius Parantes. I don't know how to correctly pronounce his last name, Parantes. If you guys know how to pronounce it, let me know in the comments. But I think they're returning some good players, and I think they were a good team in 2023. They took a few losses, but they were able to win the conference. We're talking about conferences right now, so I do think they're gonna repeat as champions of the Northeast Conference. As long as their quarterback continues to ascend, I think they should be great. Hopefully they're able to put some pieces around him. I think he had some decent pieces around him last year, but hopefully they're able to continue to put pieces around him. And, I think they had a very young group of players last year as well in 2023. So having another year of development under them, another year of being able to play, having another year under their belt will benefit them in 2024. Let me know what you guys think about that in the comments. We will move on to the next conference. Next, we have the Patriot League, which was won by Lafayette and Holy Cross. I think Lafayette will repeat. I think they have a lot of good players returning on their team. I think they should be good in 2024. They got a taste of the playoffs in 2023. I think they started off the game great. They weren't able to finish off the game and allowed Delaware to come back and ended up losing that game. But I think the experience they gained from that game will ultimately benefit them in the long run, as well as having one of the best running backs in the country, if not at this point the best back in the country, with the exit of Isaiah Davis and Dylan Lobby. Jamar Curtis, really good running back, top 3 in the FCS, might be number 1 in the FCS, really good player, showed out in their playoff game. Like I said, unfortunately, they weren't able to get the dub, but he is a player, or Lafayette is a team who I would pick to repeat in the Patriot League in 2024. One thing about the Holy Cross, they had a really good quarterback in Saluka. He was their offensive player of the year in the conference. He's gone. You have their defensive player of the year and 4-time All-Patriot League linebacker, Dobbs. He's gone. And like I said, Lafayette is returning their All-American running back, really good player. The playoff experience, I mentioned that. I think it'll benefit them in 2024, going throughout the season, playing in the Patriot League with the exit of some really good players from Holy Cross. I think Lafayette will be the team to beat. The dark horse in that conference, I'm going to say, is Fordham. But either way, Lafayette, I picked them to repeat. Really good players coming back. A young squad in 2023 should benefit from the experience they gained. You guys let me know what you think about that in the comments. We will move on to the next conference. So next, we have the Pioneer League, which was won by Drake, who had an 8-4 record in 2023, an 8-0 record in conference. So they weren't good non-conference, but they were undefeated in their conference record, which says something about the conference, but also says something about them with the outside of the conference, because as we all saw in the playoffs, they went against North Dakota State in the playoffs. I believe that was in the first round, and they got beat down. Yes, that was in the first round because North Dakota State played Montana State the next round, I believe. Either way, you got Drake, 8-4, 8-0 in conference record. The next best team was St. Thomas, who just moved up. I believe like 2 or 3 years ago, they just moved up to FCS. They are right at their heels. They were 8-3 in the regular season, 7-1 in conference. I am going to say that Drake is going to repeat as champions. They're returning their PFL Defensive Player of the Year and Buck Buchanan Award finalist, Finn Claypool. I think that's a big piece for them to be able to return. They're returning their top receiver, quarterback, and linemen, who each were first and or second team all conference selections. So I think Drake is bringing back a lot of good pieces. I'm just going to say this though, St. Thomas is my dark horse, and I don't think it's a far stretch to say that St. Thomas could win the Pioneer League, judging how good they've been in the past and how good they were this past season. They were right on Drake's heels. I think they could have a great year in 2024 and potentially win the Pioneer League in 2024. You let me know what you think about that in the comments. We will move on to the next conference. Next, we are looking at the SoCon, which was won by Furman, who had a 10-3 record in the regular season and a 7-1 conference record. The next best team in that conference was UT Chattanooga, who was 8-5 in the regular season and 6-2 in conference. Chattanooga actually lost to Furman in the playoffs. Now Furman, they're losing their starting quarterback to transfer, and they lost their starting tight end, who was a really good player, to the NFL. So they're losing 2 really good players. They should have a really strong defense again this year, I believe. I think they returned a lot of good players on their defense. I think their defense should be good. I am not going to choose them to repeat in the conference. My dark horse to win the conference is UT Chattanooga, actually. They did lose to Furman twice last year, once in the regular season and once in the playoffs. But I think some of the experience they gained, like I've said for some of these other teams, I think the experience they gained past season, playing decent football, ending up with a decent record, and ultimately coming up short in the playoffs, I think that could benefit them in 2024. So I'm going to pick UT Chattanooga. But the SoCon honestly kind of beat up on each other in 2023, so I think that's something that benefited a lot of teams. Honestly, probably benefited Furman as well, that teams beat up on each other. They only took one loss in conference. So Chattanooga is going to be my team to win that conference. I think Furman, I'm not going to say Furman's not going to be a good team in 2024. I think they may still be a good team. Like I said, I think their defense is still going to be reckoned with. They were really good in 2023. I think they'll still be pretty good in 2024, but I'm not going to choose them to repeat as conference champions. I'm going to say my dark horse is Chattanooga, and most likely to win it will probably be Chattanooga for me. But yeah, you guys let me know in the comments what you think about that. Next, we have the Southland Conference, which was won by Nicholls State. They had a 6-5 regular season record. I know this is kind of weird, and a 7-0 conference record. One of their games actually got forfeited because unfortunately there was a shooting at one of the games. But the next best team in that conference was Incarnate Word at 8-2 regular season record with a 6-1 in conference record. I'm really gonna say the Southland Conference is really up in the air. They have with Nicholls State, they have a tough non-conference schedule that will give them, I believe, will give them problems. I think it'll be between Incarnate Word or Nicholls State, whoever's gonna win the Southland Conference, but I can't definitively say if Nicholls State will or will not repeat right now. They do play in a fairly weaker conference, so that may help them. Their all-conference QB was young in 2023. That will benefit them. They are returning 2 all-conference running backs who were really good in 2023, so they may benefit from that. That will benefit them in 2024. Returning 2 all-conference running backs, that's going to be a good sign for them, big thing for them. Their quarterback was young, and he was all-conference in 2023, so returning him in 2024, that will benefit Nicholls as well. Incarnate Word has a great QB with a great supporting cast as well, so I think both of these teams are set up pretty well to be successful in 2024. I can't definitively say which one I think it will be. You guys let me know in the comments what you think about that, but I'm going to say it's between either Incarnate Word or Nicholls State. They were the 2 best teams in the conference in 2023. I think they'll be the 2 best teams in 2024. You guys let me know what you think. We will move on to the next conference. So last but not least, we have the United Athletic Conference with Austin Peay, who was 9-3 in 2023 with a 6-0 conference record. The next best team in that conference was University of Central Arkansas, who was 7-4 in the regular season with a 4-2 conference record. I do not think Austin Peay will repeat as conference champions. They lost a lot of players. They lost their starting quarterback in Mike DeLillo to the NFL, or he was a senior, so he's gone. They lost their entire receiving core. They lost all 3 starting receivers. They lost 2 to UTEP and another one, I can't exactly remember where the other one went, but they lost the receivers. They lost their starting running back to UTEP as well. So UTEP's just kind of poaching this Austin Peay squad, to be honest with you. But their conference is not very strong, so that may help Austin Peay in 2024 still be good. But I'm picking Central Arkansas to win the United Athletic Conference in 2024, and that's what I'm sticking with. You guys let me know what you think in the comments. I think Austin Peay is just honestly losing a lot. I think they're losing a lot of players offensively. I think that'll be hard to bounce back from in 2024. So I give them, a year or 2. Probably they're going to have some down years to be able to bounce back from that. Who knows? This is the transfer portal era, so they probably, might be good in 2024. Who knows? You guys can let me know what you think about that in the comments. Okay, and that is going to conclude my video today. Thank you guys for tapping in. You guys let me know what you think about each conference. You guys let me know what you think about each conference winner down below. Let me know if you think I'm wrong. Let me know if you think I'm right. Let me know if you think there's some teams I left out. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I appreciate you guys for tapping into the channel. Leave a like, subscribe below, comment what you think below. I thank you guys. I'll catch you guys next time.